Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is where you are. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Weekly Spark. This month, the inspiration is brought to me by the bear, and I will, at the end of this video, link to the folklore post where I talked about some of the folklore and mythology behind the bear, related to the bear. But for this episode today, forgive my large blue band-aid, I wanted to just play with the bear and honey. That's my color palette. I have pulled a bunch of different yellows and golden papers, and I'm thinking of kind of a almost Renaissance style portrait with the bear here, wreathed in flowers and honey tones, and maybe a few little curly cues of movement paths and a few bees put on the page. Just purely the pleasure of making a page. Not a lot of meaning behind this one, just the visuals. This nice sepia print of the bear, the different yellows that I'm going to collage on. And I do have a rubber stamp that is a honeycomb pattern. I think I want to use that with modeling paste and have that be real 3D, because then when it's dry, I can put a little watercolor in there to bring out the texture. So I've pulled a couple stencils, and I am simply going to collage first. Before I go ahead and get started, I'm currently in the midst of a huge Downton Abbey rewatch. Season 3, I have a long way to go. It's extremely soothing and entertaining. I love it when I work. But before I go, let me say I would love to have you subscribe. I would love to have you give this video a thumbs up. Stay tuned for more things on the channel, always on Wednesdays. But any comments, feedback, thumbs up, subscriptions really help the channel grow, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you tuning in. And so today, for now, level 1, collage. Just the joy of tearing paper. Enjoy. Whoops. I started stenciling before I turned the camera back on, so you can see these flowers. They look pretty white on camera, but there was a tiny bit of like an amber colored distress ink that I just spritzed into the white paint. I'm kind of pulling the colors not only from the idea of honey, but from that butterfly that is moth that is collaged on the lower right side with the darks and the oranges. The other moth was a leftover collage piece too that was actually a fossil of a moth, and so it was very earthy, kind of yellow ochre. So that's inspiring my palette. I do want to gradually layer in some darks so that the black on the moth isn't the darkest dark. And I've got that honeycomb stamp that I think I want to play with. So just gradually increasing from, kind of a rusty color. It was a yellow ochre, but then the brush was kind of dirty and then it's rustier, and why worry about it, right? Just stencil freely. I thought maybe that I would paint some bees in, but I think that with the butterflies, I don't need those or want those. So that kind of movement and flight, I'm kind of inspired by with these swirls, kind of referencing with these swirls. Again, bringing in some of the dark so that that butterfly moth image and the bear itself aren't the darkest darks on the page. It's all just watered down acrylic. That's all it is. This felt like the perfect little burst. I mean, it's not taking the place of the bees, but it gives kind of a zing to the page. Sprinkles a few more darks around, but changes the scale and is a nice contrast to the curvilinear lines of the swirls as well as the really organic feel of some of the flowers. So here I am putting down some of the modeling paste. It does dry clear. I often mix it with a little gesso to make it white, but in this case I left it alone. And I was very disappointed with the just wet smear that I got. The bee honeycomb stamp wasn't terribly deep, so I thought I'd give it one more try, not press so hard, and it was actually pulling up some of the paper since I was impatient and I hadn't let all that matte gel medium dry from the collage. So I brushed a little of the black paint on it, seeing if I could do a combination of like a stamp and a print, and it's not really working. So now I'm in problem solving mode, right? Because I have these two black spots and I need to make it look like it was intentional and sprinkle a few more around, get some other black on the page, but maybe actually get a honeycomb print somewhere. There, that one on the bottom, that gave me a print. Whew. Definitely just winging it at this point in time. Overall, I'm really happy with the way the page turned out. I love the color palette and kind of the sweet exuberance with the swirls and the little zing marks, and bears love honey. It just, oh, too dark. Too dark on that one. Uh-oh, too much black. Anyway, I hope this inspires you to take it to the page, even if there are mistakes. Just kind of roll with it and enjoy the process. I will see you next week for another episode of Weekly Spark.